The gun shop in the dust. The noon sun hung like a hammer over the little town of Dry Creek. Heat shimmered off the ground, turning the main street into a wavering ribbon of light. A lone rider came in slow, his horse's hooves clopping through the silence. Folks on porches paused mid-sentence. The stranger's shadow stretched long before him, sharp as a blade. His name was Clay Mercer, a cowboy known in whispers across 3 counties, not for gunfights, but for the quiet way he carried his scars. Folks said Clay had buried more friends than most men met in a lifetime. They also said he rode alone by choice. Clay dismounted outside Jeb Tucker's gun and trade, dusted off his hat, and pushed through the door. The bell above it gave a tired jingle. Inside, the air was cool and smelled of oil, leather, and gunmetal. Jeb, a broad man with a white beard and a temper, looked up from cleaning a Winchester. "Well, I'll be," he said. "Clay Mercer. Thought you were somewhere south, chasing cattle or ghosts." "Bit of both," Clay muttered. "Need .45 rounds. Box or 2. Got fresh stock from Abilene," Jeb said, reaching for the shelf. But before he could grab it, a soft voice came from behind the counter. "I'll get it, Mr. Tucker." Clay turned. A woman stood there, maybe in her late 20s. Her hair was tied up, though a few strands had fallen loose, catching the light like amber. She wore a simple black dress, too somber for a shop clerk, and her eyes, gray and deep, didn't flinch when they met his. Jeb cleared his throat. "This here's Mrs. Lorna Dale. She's been helping out since her husband passed. Widow of that trapper used to run goods downriver." Clay nodded, tipping his hat slightly. "Ma'am." She gave a polite nod back. "What grain you using, Mr. Mercer?" "245. Colt." She reached for the right box, her movements careful but sure. Clay noticed her hands, steady yet lined with faint burns and cuts. Not a woman of comfort, but one who worked hard and didn't complain about it. As she handed him the ammo, Clay's fingers brushed hers, cold, tense, like someone carrying too much grief. He paid in coins that clinked on the counter. "You're riding far?" she asked softly. "Just keeping ahead of time," Clay said. Her eyes lingered a moment longer than was proper. Then she smiled faintly, the kind of smile that hides something it can't tell. Jeb interrupted with a cough. "Clay, you best be careful down the South Trail. Heard a pair of bounty men asking after a cowboy matching your build." Clay slipped the bullets into his coat. Wouldn't be the first time. He was halfway to the door when the sound came, a thud from the back room, followed by the crash of glass. The woman froze. Jeb's face drained of color. "Stay here," Clay said automatically, hand going to his revolver. He pushed through the curtain into the back. The smell hit him first. Kerosene and blood. A man lay crumpled near the storage crates, bleeding from a shoulder wound. A lantern had fallen, flames licking along the spilled oil. Clay grabbed the lantern and stomped out the fire before it could spread. Then he knelt beside the man. "Who the hell?" But the man's voice rasped first. "Tell her it wasn't supposed to go this way." Clay looked back toward the curtain, where the widow now stood frozen in the doorway, eyes wide. "Lorna," the man gasped. "I tried to stop them." Before Clay could ask, the man's eyes went glassy. He was gone. The widow covered her mouth, choking back a sound. Not quite a scream, not quite a sob. Clay rose slowly. "You know him?" She nodded once, her voice trembling. "He worked with my husband. Used to bring supplies upriver. But he's been gone for months." "Gone?" Clay asked. She turned her face away, breathing hard. "My husband was killed last winter, ambushed on a freight run. They said it was bandits. But She stopped, pressing her hands to her face. Jeb came lumbering in, shotgun ready. What the devil happened here? Clay glanced down at the body. Looks like the dead just walked back into town. They covered a man and locked the back door. Lorna sat behind the counter, pale and shaken. Clay stayed near the wall, eyes narrowed. The silence in that room was heavier than the heat outside. Finally, she said quietly, "There's something you should know, Mr. Mercer. That man, he wasn't no drifter. He was bringing something. For me." What kind of something? Clay asked. She looked toward the back room, then back at him, voice barely above a whisper. Something my husband left behind. Something men have already killed for. Clay leaned back, watching her. You sure you want to tell me this? Her gaze steadied. You're the first man to walk in here today who didn't lie with his eyes. Outside, thunder rolled over the desert, the kind that came without rain. That night, Clay didn't ride out. He stayed at the edge of town, camped behind a feed store, watching the gun shop's lantern burn late. His instincts wouldn't let him leave. When midnight came, he saw a shadow move near the shop. Two men, one tall, one limping, slipped toward the side door. Clay's hand went to his coat. He crossed the street in silence, his boots whispering over dust. The men didn't see him until the first gun clicked. Turn around slow, Clay said. The tall one froze, hand halfway to his belt. The limping one muttered a curse. Who sent you? Clay asked. None of your damn. The man's words cut off as Clay fired. A warning shot that split the brim of his hat clean off. Next one won't miss. The tall man swallowed hard. We just want what the widow's hiding. That's all. Ain't got nothing to do with you. Then it's got everything to do with me, Clay said. The limping one spat dust. You don't know what she's got, cowboy. That box will bring more death than you've ever seen. Clay stepped closer, his voice cold. I've seen plenty. Before they could answer, a sound cut through the night, a rifle hammer cocking from behind. Drop it, all of you, came Lorna's voice. She stood in the doorway, holding her late husband's rifle steady, eyes blazing in the lantern glow. The two men hesitated. Clay nodded toward her, and she fired, not to kill, but to warn. The shot sent them bolting into the dark, disappearing down the alley. Clay turned to her. You knew they'd come back. She nodded, chest rising and falling. They won't stop until they find it. What's in that box, Lorna? She looked down, her hands trembling. Then, with a sudden decision, she went inside and returned with a small, metal-locked chest, old, dented, wrapped in oilcloth. This, she said, this is what he died for. Clay looked at it, then at her. And you? Her eyes softened, breaking for the first time. I've been waiting for someone I could trust to help me open it. Outside, the thunder rolled again, closer now, like the warning of something coming. Clay holstered his coat and gave a slow nod. Then tomorrow, ma'am, we open together. The morning came slow, gray, and uneasy. A thin mist hung over Dry Creek, and the town felt quieter than it should, as if it, too, was holding its breath. Clay Mercer sat by the gun shop's porch, a cup of coffee steaming in his hand. The widow, Lorna Dale, stood just inside the doorway, holding the small metal box her husband had left behind. You sure you want to do this here? Clay asked, eyes still on the street. Where else? She said softly. Running never did me any good. He nodded, his jaw tightening. Then let's see what a man died protecting. She set the box on the counter. The lock was rusted, but a single bullet key hung from a leather string around her neck. Her hands shook as she slid it in. The click that followed was loud in the stillness. When the lid lifted, the morning light fell across what lay inside. Not gold, not money, not jewels. Just a stack of papers, bound by cord and stamped with the red seal of the Union Pacific Company. Clay frowned. Railroad documents? Lorna nodded slowly. My husband worked freight lines before he trapped. Said he saw men signing papers they didn't understand, men losing their land. Clay picked one up, scanning it. The writing was neat and cruel, legal words hiding robbery. Land deeds, he muttered. Half the homesteads west of the river. She looked up. They're forged, Clay. My husband found out. He tried to stop them, but someone found him first. Clay exhaled long and low. He'd seen this before, greed wearing a gentleman's face. Who runs a company office around here? Eldon Price, she said. He was at my husband's funeral. Offered to help me sell the shop if I ever needed. I thought he was being kind. Clay's eyes darkened. Men like Price don't do kindness. He packed the papers back into the box and tied it shut. If these get to Marshall and Abilene, Price's whole world burns down. But that means you and I won't make it there easy. She looked at him with quiet steadiness. Then I'll ride with you. Clay met her gaze, and in it, he saw not a fragile widow, but a woman who'd lost everything and was still standing. He gave a short nod. We leave before noon. They rode out under a heavy sky. The road stretched endless, cutting through cactus and dust. Clay rode ahead, eyes scanning every ridge. Behind him, Lorna kept pace, her black dress traded for riding clothes and her husband's rifle strapped to her saddle. By sundown, they reached the old Stone Creek crossing. The air smelled of sage and river mud. Clay dismounted, leading his horse down the slope. "Marshall's 2 days east," he said. "We'll camp here tonight." Lorna nodded, tying her horse beside his. The quiet between them wasn't awkward. It was a kind that comes when two people understand there's no need for talk. She set out beans and biscuits by the fire, her movements calm but watchful. Clay cleaned his revolver beside her, the glow of flame flickering over the steel. After a while, she asked softly, "You ever lose someone, Clay?" He paused and said, "Once." She had eyes like a storm and a heart too big for the trail. "I buried her near the Brazos 5 winters ago." Lorna's voice lowered. "I'm sorry." "Don't be," he said quietly. "I stopped looking for peace after that." For a moment, the wind carried only the crackle of fire. Then, from far off, a coyote's howl cut through the night, followed by another sound. Hoofbeats. Clay's hand went to his gun. "We got company." He stood, moving toward the shadows. 3 riders were coming fast down the ridge, rifles glinting in the moonlight. "Get behind that log," he ordered. Lorna obeyed without question. Clay crouched low, cocking his Colt. The first shot came from the dark, snapping a branch over their heads. Clay returned fire, the muzzle flash lighting his face. The echo rolled across the valley. 2 of the riders split wide, trying to flank them. Clay moved quick, firing twice. 1 horse screamed and went down. The 3rd man charged straight through the brush. Then a rifle cracked from Lorna's side. The rider toppled from the saddle, his gun spinning into the dust. Clay turned, startled. She'd hit him clean in the shoulder. Her face was pale, but steady. "Your aim's better than you said," he called. "I only miss when I'm scared," she answered. The last man turned and rode off, vanishing into the darkness. Clay watched until the sound faded, then lowered his gun. "They'll be back," he muttered. Lorna looked toward the stars. "Then we don't stop riding till Abilene." By the next afternoon, the sun returned, cruel and burning. Their canteens were nearly dry, and their horses stumbled from heat. Clay's instincts prickled. "We're being followed again," he said. "They ain't giving up." He pointed toward a canyon trail, cutting through red stone cliffs. "We can lose them through there. But it's narrow, one mistake. We're dust." Lorna's jaw set. "Lead the way." They entered the canyon, the sound of hooves echoing between walls. The wind funnel-hot and sharp. Halfway through, gunfire cracked from above. A bullet ricocheted off stone near Lorna's head. She ducked, clutching her reins. Clay looked up. 3 riders on the rim. He fired back, driving one to cover. But another shot hit his arm, grazing deep. He bit back a groan. "Keep going." But she didn't. Instead, Lorna wheeled her horse around and fired up the slope. Her rifle boomed once, twice, sending rock and dust cascading. The men scattered, cursing. "Lorna," Clay shouted. "Ride!" They burst out the far side of the canyon, hearts pounding. Behind them, the echo of pursuit faded at last. When they finally stopped, Clay slid from his saddle, blood running down his sleeve. Lorna jumped down beside him, tearing a strip from her shawl. "Hold still," she said, wrapping the wound tight. He winced. "You sure you weren't a doctor before all this?" She gave a small, tired smile. Just a woman who had to learn fast. For a moment, their eyes held, closer now, bound by something neither could name. Then she said quietly, "If we make it to Abilene, will you stay?" Clay looked out at the horizon. "I've never been good at staying." "Maybe this time's different," she said. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. By the next day, they reached the edge of Abilene's territory, only to find the road blocked by 6 armed riders. At their head sat Eldon Price, dressed in a clean white coat and a snake smile. "Well," Price drawled, "the widow and the drifter. Quite the pair. Hand over the box, and I might let you both walk away." Clay stepped forward, gun low at his side. "You killed her husband for that box. You'll have to kill me too." Price laughed coldly. "That can be arranged." Before he could signal, Clay fired first, fast as lightning. Chaos erupted, the air filled with smoke and shouting. Lorna dove for cover, firing her rifle from the wagon's side. Clay moved like a man born to the fight, every shot deliberate, every step measured. 2 men fell. A 3rd lunged forward. Clay dropped him clean. But then, a bullet caught Clay in the leg, driving him to one knee. "Clay!" Lorna screamed. Price advanced, grinning. "You should have stayed out of this, cowboy." But Lorna stood up behind him, rifle steady, eyes blazing. He doesn't know how. The shot rang out, and Price fell forward, dust rising around him. Silence. Clay looked up, bleeding but breathing. She ran to him, dropping beside him in the dirt. "You're hit," she said, voice breaking. "I've been worse," he rasped. "You did fine." She looked down at Price's body, then at the box lying beside it, cracked open in the fight. The papers inside were scattered, some burned, some torn. Clay took her hand. "We still got enough to prove the truth." She nodded, tears streaking through the dust. Together, they limped into Abilene by sunset. The marshal listened to their story, took the papers, and swore justice would follow. That night, Clay sat on the porch of the town doctor's office, leg bandaged, watching the stars rise. Lorna came out, her hair down, her eyes softer now. "Price's men are gone," she said quietly. "Marshal wired for warrants. It's over." He nodded. "For you, maybe." She stepped closer. "What about you?" Clay smiled faintly. "I came to buy ammo. Didn't expect to find a reason to stay alive." Her lips trembled with a small, hopeful laugh. "Then stay alive, Clay Mercer. For me." He reached for her hand, rough against gentle, and for the first time in years, he didn't pull away. The desert wind moved around them, carrying the smell of rain, the first they'd seen in months. And as the night fell quiet over Abilene, Clay Mercer, the man who'd walked into a gun shop for bullets, found he'd come out carrying something far heavier.